Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast on this 17th of March 2020. I'm your host, Gerald-Quinn, discussing the world of sports and pop culture. As always, we are recording live on my YouTube channel. Go to it, Real Deal Podcast. It should be this podcast will be up anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes after the broadcast, after the podcast. After this recording is over, you can find us on Stitcher, Blog Talk Radio, Spotify, iTunes, FM.com, and a number of other platforms that you can be able to find us on. Twitter, I'll be putting up stuff on Twitter and LinkedIn as well. I have a busy night. I'll be recording another podcast that will be coming out to you later on this evening. I'll be joined by a special guest. I'll save that for a couple hours. But again, as always, this is Cyril Gerald-Quinn with the Ril Dil Podcast. And before we get to the big news of the day, which is of course the Tom Brady leaving the New England Patriots, there's a couple other sports items to go along with the coronavirus. Of course, this just came out about roughly an hour ago, a couple hours ago. You have four Brooklyn Nets players tested positive for the coronavirus, including forward Kevin Durant. Durant reported that to the Athletic. To the Athletic. So he's been confirmed to be one of four players with the coronavirus. That is now seven in total NBA players that have tested positive for the coronavirus. And of course, you had Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, Christian Wood, and now the four Brooklyn Nets players. And again, they're going to go through the same process as the others in terms of quarantine, isolation, and also teams who they've played within the last 10 days. There were at least 4 or 5 teams that they had played within the last 10 days, the Lakers being one of them, I'm sure they will go through the process of being tested. I know two of those teams are the Lakers and the Bulls, because that one of those games was a Levert 51-point game. I think they beat the Lakers. They upset the Lakers. I think that happened in the same week where you had Brooklyn beat the Lakers and you had them come back on Boston. So I know for sure, I know for sure the Lakers, Boston, and also I think Chicago too. So I think at least, so those are three of the five teams that they played before within the last 10 days. So I'm sure all those teams will be tested. If you're in the NBA right now, you have to be. I think just to be on the safe side, I would have that all the players in the NBA, whether you played against a team that's had somebody that's infected or not, that you go and get tested just out of precaution, because you just don't know. Kevin Durant, like similar to Rudy Gobert, says that he's feeling fine. You heard not Gobert, you heard Donovan Mitchell said that he could have played if it was a game 7 on the day that he got tested positive, that he could have played. So it's not a matter of these players haven't dealt with the major symptoms as far as putting them out of commission. So that tells you, just shows you how dangerous this thing has become and how scary this disease is in terms of, its effects on the players and on people. So again, so you had that going on. Of course, the PGA Championship got postponed. It was supposed to take place between May 14th and 17th. That, it's going to be very interesting to see what golf does, because the Masters has already got postponed as well. They're going to play both these tournaments. It's just a matter of when. The Kentucky Derby and French Open have both been moved to September. They haven't been made any announcements on Wimbledon yet. Remember, Wimbledon takes place later than it normally does, so they actually might be able to wait. Tennis might be actually able to wait on Wimbledon, so maybe they push that back a couple of weeks. Maybe it takes place maybe in August or late July instead of late June, early July. So you're waiting to hear on that if you're a tennis fan in terms of what they're going to do with Wimbledon. They haven't made any announcements with in terms of when the Preakness or the Belmont are going to take place. The Belmont is the last leg of the Kentucky of the Triple Crown, so I haven't heard anything on that as of yet. So stay tuned for that. But again, this thing has picked up. It just continues to pick up steam as far as how many, as far as the number of cases. You've already heard. You've already seen in New York City a possible shelter in place. A decision is coming on that. More than likely to happen. They've shut down their bars and a lot of restaurants and many restaurants around the city. Uh, Down here in the DMV, you have restrictions on bars, and a lot of restaurants are going the route of of not service inside. They're doing either drive-throughs or delivery, Uber, Lyft, and what have you. So this thing has just continued to pick up steam. I would encourage anybody, if you do not have to be out or be amongst a lot of people, don't. There's no need to be amongst a lot of people. I even talked to a number of people, a few people that had church online this past Sunday. So it's just one of these things that just it's going to be a waiting game as we kind of see how this thing plays out. You've seen a lot. Today watched a lot of shows do video conferencing or video or a lot of these shows with on ESPN and what have you, doing a lot of not too many in person, more than one or two people in studio, not too much in studio action from a number of these talk shows. So that is the world we live in right now. I mean, it is a different world, a world that we haven't been familiar with at all. Again, grocery stores are running. Grocery stores again. You saw this coming from late last week, that you knew that the grocery stores were going to be almost empty with certain products, with toilet paper and water, and what have you. So hopefully everybody is being safe out there. Hopefully you got enough groceries to last proverbial for a month or so. So again, if you can avoid being around people and you can go outside. I don't think that's a problem going outside, but I just think that people are talking about heard the president talking about not being in around more than 10 people outside of immediate family. If you don't have to be around anyone outside of your immediate family or people you live with, then some people still have to work in office around a couple other people. Just be aware of how many people you're around, because that's how serious this thing is spreading, and it's spreading quick, and it doesn't seem like there's an end in sight in terms of it slowing down. So it's basically going to come down to a process of a waiting game, so to speak, in terms of seeing how we deal with this over the course of the next few weeks, probably the next few months. But with that being said, there was some sports that went on over the course of the day. The NFL dominating the headlines with free agency, and there was not a bigger free agent out there right now than one Tom Brady, who, after 20 years, is no longer a New England Patriot. Now, I'm not shocked by this move from Brady. If you really read between the lines, if you followed this situation over the last year or so, you saw his trainer putting his house up for sale. You saw Brady putting his house up for sale. I mean, there were inklings that this could possibly happen. We know from things that have been written that the relationship between Belichick and Brady is not bad, but it wasn't the greatest. And we knew that we knew Brady was frustrated over the course of the year with not enough weapons, with the receivers that they had, with visibly frustrated during games, even more so than normal. As he had, Brady wasn't terrible this year. He was. I mean, he was okay. And I think there was some slippage, but I don't think there was Peyton Manning 2015 slippage. I don't think there was that type of slippage from Brady. I still think Brady can play and is a legit starting quarterback, but he needs a lot of help around him, especially offensively, with the weapons, with the weapons that you need to have around him And now he will seemingly get that opportunity, whether it be with a Tampa Bay or Los Angeles Chargers, to to go out there and have some top receivers around him. But in regards to this breakup, you look at the history of the NFL, this was bound to happen. Some of the greatest quarterbacks in the game's history have left their proverbial teams, whether it be Brett Favre, Johnny Unitas, Joe Montana, you know, Peyton Manning. It rarely ends well in the NFL. I mean, did John Elway retiring, winning the Super Bowl, playing with the same franchise, that you probably will never ever see that again in the NFL. That's something that just will probably never ever happen. That's just the reality of the cold hard reality of the National Football League. Guys get cut, guys get old, guys. The NFL is a cold, heartless league when it comes to when it feels. When guys start getting aging, you'll see a number of aging free agents who are making a lot of money get cut over the course during this free agent period. So I don't think it's a surprise from that standpoint. I thought that Brady probably would be back with New England based on the limited amount of options that he was going to have. Um, Brady is a guy who is a win first player. He wasn't. This was not about money. Trust me, this was not about money. I know a lot of talk out there about Brady taking pay cuts for the Patriots to get other players and sign up players. Listen, he's married to a supermodel who's worth close to $500 million. Brady is not struggling for money. like that money is not an object for Tom Brady at all. I don't care how many pay cuts that he's taking or how many team, I'm not even saying pay cuts, but team friendly deals that he signed. It doesn't matter. I mean, Brady has still made a ton of money with the New England Patriots. Now, could he have demanded more? Sure. But, that's one of the reasons why he has 6 Super Bowl championships. He chose winning over, taking up every single dollar and dime that you can get, especially being a franchise all-time great quarterback. And that's a credit towards him, and that's a credit towards the culture that Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft have built over the past 20 some odd years with New England. So to me, this wasn't about money. I think it gets to a point to where two people just can't coexist. And, you know, professional sports, Bill Parcells always had that 10-year rule where as a coach, it was once you got past 10 years, if you were fortunate enough to last that long, that it probably was more likely time to move on to another job. Think about that. You can double that with these two, with Brady and Belichick. 20 years. I mean, 20 years. Marriages don't last 20 years. Okay? So I think that this was just bound to happen. That it was almost inevitable that this was going to end this way. Brady will be 43 before the season starts. Um, Belichick wants to prove, and then again, he'll never come out and say it, but Belichick wants to prove that he can win a championship without Tom Brady. Period. And Belichick tried to prove that a few years back when they drafted Jimmy Garoppolo with a second round pick. He wanted Jimmy Garoppolo to be the next quarterback of the New England Patriots. And Garoppolo has turned out to be a Super Bowl appearing quarterback, a player capable of leading the team to get to the Super Bowl and almost won a Super Bowl this year. And despite what some people may say about him, Garoppolo is a legit franchise caliber quarterback in this league. So Belichick tried to push Brady out the door years ago. Now he was able to win a couple of Super Bowls despite, after that. But Belichick is a guy who again has no hesitation about. It's not sentimental. I mean that's not who Bill Belichick is. He's not sentimental at all. And you realize stuff. These two personalities were two conflicting personalities. Brady, as determined as Brady is, as fiery, as competitive as Brady is, he is well beloved. He's beloved in that locker room. Guys get along with him, no matter who it is, no matter if somebody has been a teammate with him for 10 years, 8 years, or 9 years, or the new person that they just picked up off the scrap meal, off the scrap meat, the scrap yards. So everybody loves Brady. That's play. I've never heard a teammate say a ex or current teammate that plays for New England say a bad thing about Tom Brady. Not the case with Bill Belichick. They fear and respect Belichick. Belichick is not beloved. He's feared and respected, and there's a difference. And that's how he has to be. That's and it's worked for him to the tune of 6 championships, and which easily could have been 7 or 8. So to me, this was something that was bound to happen with these two personalities. These are two alpha males. Unlike Kobe and Shaq, the late and great Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal, these two were smart enough and humble enough to realize that they were better together than they were apart. Because I'm sure there were times 3, 4, 5 years ago where this thing could have ended between the two. And again, this really started with the Garofalo um, signing and the Garofalo being drafted, and then Brady started bringing in his own personal trainer, uh, around the team, and then other guys started, using Brady's trainer, and Belichick was annoyed by that. So this has been going on for, this was 3 to 5 years in the making. It really is a minor miracle that Belichick and Brady stayed together this amount of time. It really is. Because I think, and again, I think Belichick, even more so than Brady, is determined to prove that he can win a champion. He can win without Brady. I really do. I think Belichick is even more so than Brady. I think Brady just wanted a change of scenery. Wanted a change of scenery, and it wasn't so much about anti-New England at this point. It was just so much wanted to see what else was out there and what it would be like to be on another team. And 20 years is a long time. And I think Brady realizes that you have two teams in Tampa and the Chargers, who have some talented players offensively, well coached teams, especially Tampa Bay with Arians. Who knows what surprise team can come out of nowhere, and there's always a surprise team that will come out of nowhere and make an offer. We're just hearing about Tampa Bay and the Rams, excuse me, and the Chargers, but there's gonna be a surprise team that makes a run for Tom Brady. I promise you. So you have that dominating the NFL. It's a new day, a new era for the New England Patriots, and you got a sense that when they lost that first round wild card game to the Tennessee Titans, you got a sense in Gillette Stadium, you got a sense that the dynasty was over, and and you got a sense that more than likely was going to be Brady's last game, possibly Brady as a New England Patriot. So now you have moving forward. I have two questions. Number one, who's Brady's next team, and number two, who will be New England's next quarterback? As far as Brady's next team, again, it seems to be two major candidates with Tampa Bay and the Chargers. Um, the Chargers signed Brian Bulaga, of the formerly of the Packers, who's been a very good player. Had one season where he was on second team All Pro, long-time Packer, very good player for the offensive line. So he's a tackle, So he, you know, you look at that, and that has to be something that if you're a Charger, that's something that has to be something that had Tom Brady in mind, getting him, getting him, and getting him at a good. Listen, he's not as good as he once was. He's not the play. He's not the player he once was, but he's still very effective as at the tackle position. And again, they're moving. They of course they moved on from Phillip Rivers, who will be making his way to Indianapolis. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So yeah, the Chargers are going to be making moves that try to attract Brady to their franchise. If I were Tom Brady, and again, minus the personal situation, I don't understand. I don't know what his family wants. There had been some talk that he wanted to stay on the East Coast. He has you know, he has a son that's in New York. So there's been some talk about there have been some talk that he wanted to stay close to the East Coast. I don't know how much truth is towards that is in regards to that. Um, I would lean towards Tampa Bay because the Charger situation again they're going to be playing in a brand new stadium. It's L.A. He's a California kid, native Californian. But Tampa Bay, I think Arians is a better coach than Anthony Lynn. Arians has worked well with a lot of with a lot of quarterbacks. Now James might we know that was a disaster with what happened transpired with Jameis Winston this year. But I like Arians as a coach. Um, you know, if it's true about his family situation, still the East Coast, Tampa Bay, New York. It's not that far. That's a short plane ride versus going cross country. And Tampa Bay is loaded with weapons. I mean, Chris Goodwin, Mike Evans, tight end OJ Howard is very good. Okay, offensive line. The offensive line is not great, but you can always pick up some pieces in terms of that. So I think Tampa Bay is a more desirable option for Brady. But again, there's going to be a surprise team that comes out of the mix. There's going to be somebody who we're not talking about that makes an offer. Remember, a lot of teams just assume that Brady was going back to New England. There are a lot of teams that just did not. A lot of people around the NFL that just did not believe that Tom Brady was going to leave New England. It's one of those where they'll have to see it to believe it. So you're going that with him now officially saying he's done with New England. You're going to see a couple other teams come out of the woodworks and try to make an offer to get the services of Tom Brady. Probably sign 2 years, and with going and basically judging it on a year by year basis. Again, Brady's still very good. I still think Brady's very good. You never know with these quarterbacks when they're gonna fall off the cliff. You just don't know. It's like playing Russian roulette. Once the guy gets into his late 30s, mid to late 30s, you know, you know, into their 40s, it's just like who knows with these guys. I mean, Brady and Drew Brees, those guys are gonna be seemingly the exceptions. They are both well conditioned, take care of their bodies, or have been relatively injury free. So that's the good news. As Drew Brees signed a 2-year extension with the Saints. But I think if you have, and again, Tampa Bay has a lot of talent. They have a lot of talent on that team. We know the Chargers have always had a ton of talent. So I think I think those two situations, he could win in those two situations. And remember, there's no dominant team in the NFL. As good as Kansas City is, they're gonna lose some pieces. Once they pay Mahomes, they're gonna lose some pieces. They're not gonna be as good as they were last year. No, they'll still be they'll still be amongst the contenders. But then you expect Pittsburgh to be back. But right now, look at the landscape of the NFL. There's no team out there. There's nobody that's so you don't Brady could be, you could put Brady on a Tampa Bay and they can be contenders right away. You could put Brady on the Chargers, they will be contenders right away. New England automatically falls down a peg. So that is it's gonna be interesting to see where Brady signs. As far as New England, in terms of who they pick up at quarterback, who knows? They've been talking about Andy Dalton. There's talk about Cam Newton is going to be free. I don't be surprised if Cam Newton is not the quarterback of New England. I think Cam Newton, you can get Cam Newton on the cheap. Belichick likes quarterbacks that can move. Belichick can look at Cam Newton as a reclamation project. I don't see him touching Jameis Winston. He just turns the ball over too much. But Cam Newton's gonna have a chip on his shoulder. Earlier today, Cam Newton was granted basically not his release, but told that he could start seeking trades to other teams, and Carolina's going to end up signing Teddy Bridgewater, which is a good signing for them. And I don't blame them. I would right now probably take a healthy Teddy Bridgewater over a injured Cam Newton, as Cam Newton has had trouble staying healthy over the last couple of years. So I can't knock Carolina for that. But apparently Cam Newton uh, completely denied over via Twitter that he was ever offered to start looking for teams to trade partners. He said that's a lie by the franchise. So those two are going at it. They're not ended on the best of terms. Newton, who was a former MVP back in 2015 and Super Bowl participant that same year, has been injury prone over the last couple of years. I respect Cam Newton as it being, from the standpoint he has been a franchise quarterback and he has lived up to the billing of a number one draft pick that he was back in 2011, won a national championship back at Auburn. So I like Newton a lot. I don't think he's a Hall of Fame quarterback right now, but I still think if he's healthy, I still think he can be effective. And again, I think New England would be a perfect situation to kind of rebuild and reclaim and get his career back on track. Also, you have Jacoby Brissett is a possibility. Brissett's familiar with the system. Brissett has some decent outings with New England a couple years back. And Brissett, before he got injured, was playing relatively well with Indianapolis. I think Brissett is a starting quarterback. I don't think Brissett is a quarterback that you're going to win a championship with. But to me, Brissett would be a guy who he'd be a perfect stopgap between now and your next possible franchise quarterback, whoever that is, whether you go through the draft or via free agency, more than likely through the draft. New England has I think the 23rd pick this year. So I don't think New England will draft a quarterback. That's not their style in terms of drafting a quarterback in the first round. I'm looking at them. Yeah, they have the 20. Yeah, they have the 23rd quarterback and 23rd pick, and they had actually on one of these mock drafts they do have New England drafting a quarterback, from Utah State. I don't see that happening. To be honest with you, it's just not. They don't take first round quarterbacks. That's never been Bill Belichick style. Even never been with Belichick, and we know that he was trying to replace Brady and looking. That pick, Garofalo in the second round was a pick to try to replace Brady. So I don't think they'll take a quarterback in the first round. I think they will go the veteran route. Now, apparently, they like the quarterback they have in place for Brady right now, Jared Statham from Auburn, who was a fourth round pick, 23 years old, a couple years ago, fourth round pick. Apparently, they're high on him. Um, Now again, that could be just talk in terms of trying to calm down fans, in terms of calming down people from this reaction with Tom Brady leaving. But we'll see. He'll get opportunity to play. He'll get opportunity to play. I don't see him as their future quarterback. But maybe he might get an opportunity to play. Again, Bill Belichick would love to have that guy as a fourth round draft pick, and he be come in right away as a starter, and they not miss a beat and go 10-6 or 11-5. Yeah, that would be Bill Belichick's dream to have that happen. So there have been some other names: Nick Foles, Derek Carr. You've heard those names around, but the point is, in 2020, whenever the NFL season does start, and more than likely it will start on time, that the New England Patriots will have a new quarterback under center for the first time, a brand new quarterback under center for the first time, basically since 2008. Well, 2000, yeah, 2000, 2008 when Brady was hurt, and you had Matt Castle. So for the first time then, but officially for the first time in over 20 years. As far as other New England, not New England, but free agent signings, and you have some trades and some signings. Uh, we haven't spoke, but of course Dallas franchised Dak Prescott and signed Amari Cooper. A lot of moves by Dallas. They lose Byron Jones. They lose Jason Witten. They lose Robert Quinn. They re-sign, overpay for Amari Cooper, 5 years, $100 million, $60 million guaranteed. They and I think it was a smart move. Sign franchise Dak Prescott, $31.5 million. Listen, I don't blame him for that at all. He's still going to get paid $31.5 million. Now they can still negotiate, and they put the exclusive tag, meaning no other team could negotiate with him. It's very rare that you see teams put the exclusive tag on players, especially quarterbacks, but it happened in this case. So he can only negotiate with the Cowboys. Um, they want to see what Dak Prescott is, and they want to see. They're still not completely sold on them. I don't think they're sold on him. I think they're scared I really think that they are scared to commit to him. I don't see myself a deal being worked out this season. I think they will let him play out let him play it out, and actually and go from there. So you have that going on. Philip Rivers signs a 1 year, $25 million deal to go to the Indianapolis Colts. I don't understand this. I don't understand this deal by the Colts, because I think Rivers is shot. Rivers had a lot of talent with the Chargers. I know Melvin Gordon missed some games, but he still had top receivers. He looked he looked like a quarterback that was absolutely he looked like a quarterback that should be a veteran backup at this stage in his career. Like, he did not look like a franchise starting quarterback, a guy who, even if you put him around a great defense and one of the best offensive lines in the league, which Indianapolis has, and a above average running game, I don't see Rivers as being a guy that's put Indianapolis over the top and may turn them into a Super Bowl contender. I like At this point in their careers, I like Jacoby Brissett more than I like Philip Rivers, to be honest with you. So to me, a baffling move by the Colts, a move that I would not have made. I would have went after somebody I would have went after Teddy Bridgewater or somebody like that. Um, of that, I know he ended up signing with Carolina, but it seems to me like Indianapolis was steadfast on signing Philip Rivers. DeAndre Hopkins traded for David Johnson. I don't, for the life of me, don't understand this move from a Houston perspective. You get rid of one of the best, arguably the best receiver in football, a guy who is a great locker room presence, a guy who does not have a bad contract, has a good contract considering his production, considering how young he is. I know he wanted a new contract, but I don't understand this, trading a top player at their position for a running back who has not been relevant since 2016, 2017. I mean, David Johnson's been injury prone. He lost his job to Kenyon Drake this season. Now I know Houston will get a second round pick. This is a deep receiver draft, so maybe they use that to draft one of those receivers that are coming out in a loaded draft. I don't. I'm not sure what they're gonna do, but I don't like this pick at all. I don't like this trade at all for Houston. Now they signed Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb is not DeAndre Hopkins, not by a long shot, not even the same stratosphere as DeAndre Hopkins. So a baffling move for the Houston Texans. That's excuse me. That's the problem when you have your coach and your coach be a general manager. Like, it's just Bill O'Brien is a pretty good coach. He's not a general manager. So they have issues from that standpoint. We already talked about Cam Newton. We already talked about Cam Newton being out of Carolina, Bridgewater in. You see DeForest Buckner go to Indianapolis for a first round pick. So San Francisco chose Armstead over DeForest Buckner, and I don't blame them. San Francisco is loaded defensively. They will get a first round pick from Indianapolis, which will be the 13th pick. So if they want to, they can draft a defensive player there. They've been good in drafting and developing talent, and they still have Boza and guys Armstead and D Ford. So they're still loaded defensively. They re-signed the corner Ward, Denzel Ward, for a couple more years. So defensively they're fine. It's just a matter of Garofalo just getting better. So I don't blame them for that move. Indianapolis, you just get stronger defensively. DeForest Buckner is a beast. Put in with Darius Leonard, and that defense just gets that much stronger. So, I think that's a win for both teams from that standpoint. Also, you had a Stephon Diggs being traded for 4 picks, going to Buffalo. And listen, for Minnesota, Minnesota get 4 draft picks, 3 this year and 1 in a fourth round 2021. So they'll get a first, a fifth, and a sixth this year, and a 21 in a fourth round pick in 2021. Diggs is a very good player, but the bottom line is Minnesota. How far did Minnesota go with him? They made it as far as got to the conference championship and got smacked around by the Eagles a couple years ago. So got close to a Super Bowl, but you're getting draft picks. You're getting draft picks for them. I'm not going to knock that trade. Again, this is a loaded wide receiver class. So if you're Minnesota, you can take that money that you were paying Diggs, use it on a draft pick, and use it to strengthen the rest of your team. So that, to me, that is the thought process in regards to that. If you're Buffalo, you're getting a receiver who, I don't think Diggs is a top receiver. I think uh, Diggs should probably. I think Diggs is a number one. Is he a top 10, top 15? He falls around. Maybe he's a top 15 receiver. I think Diggs is a very good player. I don't think he's great. It's a lot to give up for him. And Buffalo has not had success making trades with receivers in the past. So that, they traded all those picks to get Sammy Watkins a couple years ago in the draft. So they don't have the greatest history of making trades in terms of getting receivers. So keep that in mind. So you have that, a lot going on with NFL free agency. Still a lot to be decided in regards to that. Where some of these quarterbacks are going to land, especially the likes of a Cam Newton, the likes of Jacoby Brissett, Andy Dalton, Andy Dalton. So that will be worked out, and of course, the biggest domino that everybody's going to be waiting for is one, Tom Brady. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. Remember to be safe out here, and enjoy the family time. I will see you next time. I will see you soon. Matter of fact, so long. I'm out.